Hey guys, this is Matt. Welcome back to the channel. And I know my last video I kind of left you guys hanging on the install of the audio system, but today we're definitely going to get that finished and get the rest of the interior put together as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the cage was not a direct fit. I did end up needing to sand all four edges just a little bit, and it seemed to be that it was tight in the top corner. So I don't know if that's just the accuracy of the fabrication of that cage or something going on with the trim, but of course, you know, factory is going to have that little bar that goes across that separates the radio from, you know, if you got the compartment or amp or whatever. So that was already cut off in my car, but I did take a file and some sandpaper and go around the edges, and now it is definitely a snug fit, and I won't be able to probably do this one-handed. There it goes. But anyway, so now it'll fit in there. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and push that all the way in, and then there are little tabs here that you can take a screwdriver and kind of pry those, and that'll kind of pinch onto the plastic. So I'll do that here in a second. And then of course I've got my mess of wires, and I just realized that I do need to add another pigtail off the accessory so that I can plug in my antenna. I already did some test fitting with this on the radio, so I kind of know where this needs to go on the radio itself. So I'll be able to gauge and see how close it is. So it'll be hard to film, so I'll just go ahead and push all this in, and I'll check in just a second. If you're going to do this in your car, there's a couple things that I would suggest. So first of all, there's not a lot of room really beyond the depth of the head unit. So all the extra wiring that I had ran previously for an amplifier, all that for now, I've just had to run it back that way to get some room. And then what I'll do is I'll manage all that and tuck it up underneath the dash over there. So, you know, that head unit goes straight down in, and then back there, which it's hard to see, the lighting in here is not very good, but down there, there's a tiny little kind of cutout in the bracket. It's actually the frame for the dash, but that is basically as far back as the head unit is going to go. So it's going to fill this whole space. So I spent a few minutes trying to move some of my wiring around, and I've basically got everything moved to this side because that's where the plug will inevitably be on the back of the head unit. I'm trying to make that completely open so that when we're pushing the head unit in, we're not binding up any wires or having any trouble. This little rubber nub will screw onto the back of the bottom part of the cage. So I don't think that I need to do anything else to really make the way that the head unit sits in there be very secure, because it will look like it hits with this little rubber piece. I'm gonna go grab the head unit and put this on the back of the bottom piece of the cage, get all that assembled, get the last of the wiring harness connected in, and then we'll do a test run to make sure all the speakers work. So here's what that little nub looks like on the back of the head unit. And so now I think I'm going to try to slide this in and hook everything up. Now, I have spent some more time trying to organize the wiring, and it's just such a tight fit. So I'm going to have to be careful when I'm pushing this back in that I don't cut into any of those wires. I've tried to move everything to be more towards the top of the opening so that as this edge on the bottom slides in, it doesn't catch anything. I'll get this set into place, and then we'll power on the car and see what happens. Okay, so I have the head unit pushed in, and I can already tell that trying to push it in that last half inch is going to be really hard. It's already fairly tight, and I don't want to push too hard in fear of damaging anything. See if I can reach up in there and try to fish some of those wires out, or I may have to take this back out and try to see if I can do something to help those wires sit back in there a little bit better. I do have the speakers screwed in, and I'll talk more about those in a second, but for the most part, they're just screwed straight in, didn't do anything special. Plugged them in so that I can do this test. So now we should be able to plug the car in and see what happens. Okay, that's a good sign. Okay, at least we are getting some static through the speakers. So let me find something I can play, and then what I'll do is we'll test left and right and front and back and make sure everything is working as it should, and then we'll play some music and see how it sounds. So I found that it was super easy to hook my phone up to the head unit through the Bluetooth. I will be using Apple CarPlay probably for the most part, but just for this audio test. So I haven't messed with any of the settings, so of course I may have to unplug this, and I don't know if the if the battery is going to, unplugging is going to reset the memory. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and just cue the copyright-free music. So I just found something quick and easy off YouTube, but from where I'm sitting, it does sound like all the speakers are working. But let me see if I can find the mixer and see if we can adjust the balance here. So it sounds like we're getting audio from the front left, audio from the front right, back left, and back right. So I am getting my audio on all my channels, which is great. I'm not going to get too deep into any of these settings, but for now, just know that I'm pretty stoked that all this worked, because none of this has worked in the car since I've had it. So this is awesome. I'm not going to run this too much so I don't kill the battery, but I think the next thing I need to do is go ahead and try to figure out where on earth I'm going to be able to stuff those wires to fit this back a little bit further into the of course that's not the song that's playing, by the way, so some sync thing there. But anyway, so I'm gonna turn the camera off and try to get this pushed back into place, and then from there I will go ahead and check back in, and we'll talk more about the speaker installation I did on the front. So I got the head unit fully installed, went ahead and got the trim snapped in, and man, that ended up taking several, taking it in and out to fish those wires back through there. And really, some of the wires just have to go in certain locations because of how they plug into the back of the head unit and the way that the frame for the dash is. So if you're doing this on your car, just take some time and you'll figure it out. You can reach up from behind the dash. I took the trim off. You can reach up in there and kind of pull on some of the wires to help them come back through. So I've tested it, it's working, everything's fine, and totally happy with the way it looks. There's a little bit more of a gap on the top than there is the bottom around the trim, but I think that's really just the way that it fits inside the hole that's in the trim, the panel. So you could maybe fiddle with that and maybe shim it up if you needed to, but I'm not going to complain too much about that, and I'm pretty happy with the way that looks. So that's completely done, and I'll put links to in the description for all the parts that I used to do that in case you need to pick some of that up. So check those out. And with those in, we can go ahead and just talk quickly about the speakers. These speaker brackets are just PVC, and they're relatively soft, and I did find that when they're putting screws in and whatnot, that you can't easily strip out the plastic or compress it. So just be careful if you're using these, and when you install them, they do leave a little bit of gaps in a couple places. I did put speaker gasket around the back side, which probably hits about 70-ish% of the perimeter, but that whole upper portion up there, it just kind of goes into the back. The factory bracket kind of molds the door. I will go ahead and grab some more of this sound skins, some of the cutoffs I've got, and fill in some of those gaps around there where the wires come through. I did check the polarity on the speakers and everything sounds good, but I'm hoping once I get the door cards on, maybe we'll pick up a little bit more bass in the car, but we'll put a sub in later if we need to. So I'll go grab some sound deadening material and patch some of these holes, and I'll do that on both sides. It's kind of the same story, they're almost identical. And then I'll go grab the door cards, we'll get those in. Then we're just down to the floor mats, the scuff guards, and a few little trim pieces on the door that I've got picked up. And yeah, after a year, this thing will be almost complete. It's kind of ridiculous how long this has taken, I know that, but tracking down parts, cleaning some of this stuff up, life, everything, it just takes a while. So anyway, I'll check back in a second once I'm ready to put the door cards on. All right, so I've done a little bit of cable management, trying to tie some of this stuff back, and I don't know if this car had a Bose system in it at some point in time originally, or if someone has wired in some security stuff, but I've got a few extra things here, so I've just kind of left them because I don't want to really deal with all that wiring. The car works okay with them, so I've got like 3 connectors here that I'm just gonna zip tie out of the way and fasten to my speaker bracket. And so I've double checked everything, and it looks like we're ready to get this installed. So I'll go ahead and remove all the switches, the cups, and all that stuff. I can install that after the fact. I could pull the wires through and do that, and it'll just make the installation a little bit easier, particularly not having the little tray for the handle. And I think this is ready to pop in. Really, the trick is just making sure that you get your tabs, if you still have them, getting those mounted in the tops of the doors. So you kind of want to slide the door panel down first. Once you've done that, then obviously targeting the holes for all the 3 clips along the bottom, and then lining up for the 3 screws. So I'll go ahead and put this on. All right, here she is in all her glory. So fairly straightforward to put back on, as long as you take your time and careful to make sure you get all the clips and things and pull wires where you need to. So it feels really secure. I did get the passenger side on, by the way. I don't think either door card was ever fully fastened when I've got it, because each one was loose and creaked and popped, but there's still a little bit of noise, but for the most part, they feel really solid. This is really awesome because I haven't had this car even close to being this much put together since I've had it for almost, well, I've had it for 2 years now, which is kind of hard to believe. I can go ahead and start putting in some of these last pieces of trim that I'm missing, get everything cleaned up. And then, boys, I think that is going to be it for the interior restoration, at least for the near future. So some of this stuff is brand new that I'm putting back in the car, really all but just one of the door trim pieces I've sourced brand new. So these are the pieces that go up here behind the door handles. And then these are little triangles that go up by the mirror on each side. And then these are actually just a little, these snap over where the seats bolt and cover up the bolt down there. And I'll put the part numbers for all this in the description. I think I picked all this up from Atkins Rotary. And I probably had this over a year, so I don't know if they would still have any of this in stock, but it doesn't hurt to check their website or shoot them an email. But I do have the left and right sides covered, so I'll go ahead and pop these in. So it's pretty nice that all these parts are kind of labeled right hand and left hand side. The triangle piece just snaps in. I mean, there's just one clip that you can push and it snaps right in. So you'll just line up the 2 prongs with the 2 holes there, and this might be a little tough to do with one hand. Yeah, so they just snap right in, and they've got the new ones came with the foam. If you have your existing ones and you've popped them off and that foam has come apart, you can use the exact same foam that I've used on pretty much everything else, and I'll put a link in the description to what I think will be the best foam to use for that. So that is the door complete. It does need a good cleaning just to get my fingerprints and dust off of it. After I get it cleaned up, I will show you a few of the goodies that I've picked up to kind of complete this interior refresh. She may be dirty on the outside, but she's clean on the inside. We've got everything cleaned down and ready to go. I have scuff plates. I'm trying to decide what I want to do with those, either replace them. I know they make carbon fiber and replacements like that, but I'll figure that out at some point in time. But the only thing I'm really missing at this point is floor mats. And for those, I reached out to Garage Alpha and I picked up a few items from them that they were making, and I picked up some new floor mats. So Garage Alpha is really cool because they do make a lot of pieces for the RX7 and a few other cars, but you know, they're basically, it's all aftermarket, but it's like OEM fit kind of stuff. So I'll get these opened up real quick. They're almost cut perfectly for, you can get them left-hand drive or right-hand drive, and I think they called this their Lux. I'll put the information on the screen and a link down in the description where you can find that. And I opted to get the metal RX7 logo put on these. A nice step up from just putting my feet on the carpet, but also just like OEM, maybe even a little bit better. But they make tons of colors, and they make 3 different weaves or materials. So if you want a heavier duty or a lighter one, you can go all sorts of options. But I just went black on black because you can't go wrong with that color combination. So I'm going to drop these in real quick and I'll show you what it looks like. So Garage Alpha just killed it with these floor mats. They look great, they feel great. It's just super nice and plush. So yeah, I mean I mean, that's everything I've got. I picked up these little, they're like little palm rests, so that, you know, if you're big like me trying to get in and out of the car, you always put your hand down to kind of prop yourself to get out. I'm not going to permanently install it right now, just because I'm not sure, you know, if it'll be better to wait, you know, if the car gets repainted and install it then. But I did pick those up while I picked up the floor mat, so those are pretty nice, just like a neoprene pad. I know this is taking a really long time, but here's the payoff. I mean, it looks so nice, and it's not perfect. I mean, there's little scuffs here and there, but, you know, I'll probably get the seats reupholstered at some point. She's complete, and that's really all that matters to me right now. I'm super anxious to take this out for a drive now that I've got radio. I can listen to the tunes now that my knee's not going to be banging into the door. Yeah, so now we can move on to bigger and better things with this car. And I did want to mention real quick, you know, here's just one example of my scuff plate. You know, all the dents and dings and scratches. It's not terrible, but I may try to sand these down and clean them and polish them. Who knows, or I may just try to find some new ones, but I do have those. They're just sitting in the workshop for now, but I'll figure out something with that and let you guys know. Everything now in the car is just, it's like brand new. I can't even get over how nice this is compared to when I first got the car. So I'll quit ranting about it, because it's just an OEM interior, and that's the car fully put back together, and the doors close really nice. And yeah, let me know what you think. If you have any questions about any of these little projects. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I have driven the FD several times now since I finished the install, and having the interior complete is it's awesome, and it's really an enjoyable ride now. So obviously having the modern technology of the new head unit is really cool. You know, just like more modern cars, I can hop in and it just automatically syncs to my Bluetooth. Because the speakers sit lower in the car, it is not the best sound stage in a car that I've had. I think, you know, the speakers kind of get muffled because they're kind of hidden by your legs, and then the speaker aiming and all that stuff. So it's not going to be a car that you're going to go out and do audio competitions or anything like that. It is certainly much improved from probably the factory audio system, and I'll eventually probably do a sub upgrade or something like that to get a little bit more low end in the audio system. But for now, it's done. I'm super happy, and you can actually see behind me, I've got the Datsun up on the lift. That's a whole nother story for another day, but just know that we're going to be getting into some of the projects on that. I will still keep working on the RX7. I still have lots of stuff sitting in the workshop that I picked up, ECU, all that kind of stuff. But the next video or two will probably be about the Datsun and trying to get this thing back on the road, and it needs a ton of work. So actually having it up on the lift, I've found more than I anticipated, but it's still actually in really good condition for a 42-year-old car. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I love interacting with you guys. I love getting the comments where, you know, someone will come back on an older video and say, hey Matt, I really appreciate you going through this, or you coming back and giving a tip that will help future viewers on something else that you found that might have made an install easier. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I do check my analytics, and I think like 30% of the people that watch my videos are actually subscribed to my channel. So it'd be awesome if we could raise that number a little bit. So if you found any of this content useful or helpful, or you have any interest in the Datsun or RX7 or anything else going on, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and it'll put a smile on my face. Anyway, everybody, I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one.